March.
Mike Theory. Anthony, you with us? Anthony? So thank you all for coming today. We're gathered here today to talk about George Santos. George Santos' campaign last year, 2022.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Anthony. George Santos' campaign last year was a campaign of deceit, lies, fabrication. He deceived the voters of the 3rd Congressional District. He deceived the members of the Nassau County Republican Committee, elected officials, his colleagues, candidates, his opponents, and even some of the media. His lies were not mere fibs. He disgraced the House of Representatives. In particular, his fabrications went too far. Many groups were hurt. Specifically, I look at those families that were touched by the horrors of the Holocaust and feel for them. He has no place in the Nassau County Republican Committee, nor should he serve in public service, nor as an elected official. He's not welcome here at Republican headquarters for meetings or at any of our events. As I said, he's disgraced the House of Representatives, and we do not consider him one of our congresspeople. Today, on behalf of the Nassau County Republican Committee, I am calling for his immediate resignation. Ladies and gentlemen, the supervisor of the town of North Hempstead, Jen DeSena. Jen?
Thank you, Chairman Cairo. Today, I'm calling on George Santos to immediately resign from Congress for the 3rd District. The lies George Santos told are too numerous to count. He lied to me personally when he sought my endorsement, and while I'm offended and disgusted at his deceit, my true concern is for the residents of the 3rd Congressional District. He has betrayed the public's trust and given insincere, glib, and insulting answers when asked legitimate questions about his finances and his background. By all accounts, he seems incapable and unwilling to take full responsibility for his lies and fabrications. Beyond all that, he is under local, state, and federal investigations as serious questions have arisen about his campaign finances. There's absolutely no way Mr. Santos can be an effective member of Congress and represent the people who elected him. The longer he remains in office, the longer the residents of the 3rd Congressional District will suffer. Mr. Santos, haven't you done enough harm? I call on Mr. Santos to immediately resign. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Congressman Anthony D'Esposito. Anthony?
Well, good morning, Chairman, and I'm sorry that I can't be with you all in Nassau County this morning. I'm here in the nation's capital doing the work of the people in the People's House and those people who trusted me with representing them in Washington, D.C. And speaking of trust, my colleague George Santos has violated the trust of not only the voters and not only of people across America. It seems that both the things that he's discussed during his campaign were outright lies. And I think that what's most important as a public servant is treating the public with respect and gaining and earning their trust, something that all of you behind that podium have done. As we move forward into the 118th Congress, only sworn in just a couple nights ago at about 2 a.m., At this point, I don't think that George Santos can move forward as a member of Congress that people hired to do here in our nation's capital. So I join with you and I join with my colleagues in saying that George Santos does not have the ability to serve here in the House of Representatives and should resign.
Thank you, Anthony. County Executive Bruce Blakeley.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Nassau County has approximately 1.5 million people. We are larger than 10 states. Half of Nassau County is in the 3rd Congressional District. In that congressional district, like the rest of the county, there is a large population of people who identify themselves legitimately as being Jewish. Of some of those Jewish people that live in Nassau County, like myself, we go to shul, we go and worship, and we take our religion seriously and our heritage seriously. When George Santos spoke about his college education, what we found out was audacious. When he called himself a Jew, that was ridiculous. But what was really tragic is the fact that there are so many people here in Nassau County who are survivors of the Holocaust. They are children of the Holocaust, grandchildren of the Holocaust, great-grandchildren. These are people whose families were decimated and in many instances wiped out. We're talking about whole families that were shot to death, that were gassed to death, that were starved to death. And for him to make up this story, that his parents were Holocaust survivors, is beyond the pale. It is simply tragic and outrageous and disgusting. And I join here with my colleagues in government calling for George Santos' resignation because he cannot serve anymore. He does not deserve that right. He is a stain on the House of Representatives. He's a stain on the 3rd Congressional District. And as of today, I have ordered my staff that any federal constituent calls that come into the county executive's offices will now be referred to Congressman Anthony D'Esposito, that Congressman D'Esposito has graciously accepted that responsibility. My office will have no interaction with George Santos or his staff until he resigns. Thank you.
Thank you. State Senator Jack Martins.
Good morning, everyone. I stand here with my colleagues in calling for George Santos to resign. The 3rd Senate District is wholly within the Congressional District. The 7th Senate District is wholly within the 3rd Congressional District. It's about half the district. It's now been 2 months since the election, nearly a month since the story broke in the New York Times. We've gotten comments from Santos. We've gotten excuses from Santos. These aren't embellishments. These are lies. And George Santos is a fraud. And so here we are, together, united, understanding that much the same way my colleagues have already spoken to the issue, we will not be working with our congressman when it comes to addressing issues. I have over 40 villages in my Senate district, 2 towns and a city. And each and every one of them have told me that they will not be working with Congress, with Santos. That speaks volumes to where we are today. The inability of this person to actually exercise and perform the duties as a member of Congress and as a representative of nearly 750,000 people here in Nassau County. The people of Nassau County deserve better. We, as a community, need to come together. And frankly, as we understand, it is probably impossible to shame the shameless. It is probably impossible for us to get someone who has no shame to do what is right. But here we stand, united, in sending a message that until he is removed, by one way or another, we will move forward. We will continue to perform our services and our responsibilities as elected officials here in Nassau County. We will continue to represent the residents and citizens of Nassau County, and we will continue to do the people's work. But it will not include Santos. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Patricia Cantoneri Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Chairman Cairo. Today is indeed a very sad day in that we must call for the resignation of Congressman George Santos. The public trust has been violated in numerous ways, and there is no way for the public to ever have faith in his word. As a mom of 4 who has tried to be a leader and an example to my children of what it means to be a public servant, to work for the people, to be trustworthy, and to stick to the promises that you make. He is the antithesis of what every person behind me and next to me is. It is a great stain on the Republican Party of Nassau County today that he worked with us. He does not represent our values, our commitment to be honest, hardworking government servants. Every person behind me is absolutely deserving of the honor of representing the public, and George Santos is not. So I too call for his resignation, and I am particularly offended also as a representative of the 5 towns and the Orthodox community that what he did regarding his religious status was exceptionally offensive. And for them, I stand here and ask that he step down. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Assembly Delegation Leader, Assemblyman Ed Raw.
Thank you, Chairman. I join with all of my colleagues, Chairman Cairo, and on behalf of our Assembly delegation in calling on George Santos to resign. The public trust, once broken, cannot be repaired. And George Santos has broken that trust. And it is not possible to be an effective representative when you don't have the trust of your constituents. So for the good of the residents of the 3rd District, I join my colleagues in calling on George Santos to resign. Thank you.
Thank you. Our County Controller, Elaine Phillips.
Thank you, Chairman Cairo. So I too join my colleagues and demand that George Santos steps down from his position. I personally have spent my entire career, both in the private sector and as a public, an elected public official, upholding integrity and honesty, as have my colleagues. So both as a resident of the congressional district and an elected official whose job is to protect the taxpayers of Nassau County, I stand with my colleagues and say, George Santos needs to step down. Thank you.
Thank you. The presiding officer of the Nassau County Legislature, Rich Nicolello. Rich.
Chairman, it now appears that everything that George Santos said about himself was a lie. He lied to get the nomination, he lied to the electorate, he lied to get elected. And as has been said before, those lies, the pervasive, extensive nature of those lies have done violence to the public trust. Now, all the people that I serve with, that are here with us today, and those other elected officials that are not here, Republicans and Democrats, a vast number of them serve with sincerity, honesty, integrity, commitment, dedication, they're hardworking. And something like this scandalous behavior, does damage to all of our reputations, because it's part of our public that's cynical about politicians and public officials in general. So it's time for George Santos, for once, to do the right thing. And I, on behalf of the 12 members of the Republican majority, call on him to step aside. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator Mazi Pillow. Mazi?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. I'm also very disappointed by the lies told by Congressman-elected George Santos. People trusted him, people voted for him, people campaigned for him, including me as a county legislator. At this point, the trust no longer there. Therefore, he should resign. Thank you.
Thank you. Panahasset Supervisor Don Clavin. Donald?
Thank you, Chairman. It comes down to the following. You know, when you build something on lies and no ethics and no responsibility, there's accountability. George Santos has no business serving in Congress. On behalf of all the board members, and frankly, the 750,000 residents living in Panahasset, it's time to go. It's time to get out. You know what? You see a unified voice here. You know what? He's unified the country in their opposition to him. He's a national joke. He's an international joke, but this joke's got to go. And it's on us calling him for to resign immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Thank you all.
Thank you. Supervisor of the Town of Oyster Bay, Joe Saladino.
Thank you, Chairman. Over the past few weeks, we've learned from the media almost daily about the lies and dishonesty of George Santos. We've been shocked by this and the extent in which George Santos misled us. Our residents deserve better, much better. We deserve honesty and ethics. My colleagues and I on the Oyster Bay Town Board govern with such principles, and we demand the same from our state and our federal representatives. Multiple reported investigations are underway. We await their outcome. Mr. Santos has admitted lying time and time again. And we in government, just like the people we represent, are deeply disappointed. As supervisor of the largest township in the 3rd Congressional District, I join with my colleagues on the town board, the elected officials in our community, and all of us in Nassau County Republican team when we ask Mr. Santos to resign immediately. George, I'm speaking to you. It's time to step down.
Thank you. The Mayor of Glen Cove, Pam Panzenbach. Pam?
Hello, I'm the mayor of Glen Cove, and we are the only city in the 3rd Congressional District. We were all duped, and we're appalled and angered at how George Santos misled us, lied to us, and what a fraud he actually is. And that stands for me as the mayor and my entire city council. We need a congressman to work for us. George needs to step down immediately. Right after this press conference, if he gets to see it, it's time for you to resign, George. We need representation that we can count on. He's told so many lies, he doesn't know what the truth is, and he's making a mockery out of the entire congressional system. Thank you.
Thank you. Our County Clerk, Maureen O'Connor. Maureen?
Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, everyone. As many of you know, the County Clerk's office has hundreds of Nassau County residents who come in every single day, either for court operations access or for property records access, and to file documents and to have us do notaries for them. And I have to tell you, almost to a person, the public that has been coming in the last several weeks have asked me outright, what do we need to do about this George Santos? And frankly, they trust me. As many of you know, I'm a registered nurse, besides being a lawyer. And they trust my judgment and my honesty and directness with them. And if this gentleman was in any other profession, he would be fired immediately for lying about his credentials. Imagine this, lying about your credentials. It's just unacceptable, and this man must resign immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. So ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our speakers.